Crowds fleeing Donald Trump's latest rally in Indiana, Pennsylvania, shocking the world with dystopian, authoritarian promises and wet dreams from the failed former Orange president. This was a very scary one. Not only was Donald Trump soaking wet from flop sweat, not only was he gripping the lectern like he was on a sheer cliff about to plunge to his death, not only was his right eye almost completely swollen shut, but Donald Trump espoused dangerous, un-American authoritarian rhetoric, including suggesting that Americans who criticize the Supreme Court for ending Roe v. Wade should be thrown in prison. This is not the United States of America.
They were very brave, the Supreme Court, very brave, and they take a lot of hits because of it. It should be illegal what happens. You know, you have these guys like playing the ref, like the great Bobby Knight. These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices.
These people should be put in jail for how they talk about our judges and justices. Well, I think that happens in North Korea. I think that happens in many of the countries that usually we say that is not the way we organize our system of government. But that's not supposed to happen in the United States. In Putin's Russia, sure, you could end up in prison because of what you say about a judge. But this is an un-American dystopian horror, or hara, as Trump likes to call it. Trump then criticizes early voting and suggests it's rigged. Trump regularly votes early and by mail.
Vote, you can start right away. You know that, right? Now we have this stupid stuff where you can vote 45 days early. I wonder what the hell happens during that 45. Let's move see these votes? We've got about 1 million votes in there. Let's move them. We're fixing the air conditioner in the room, right? No, it's terrible. What happened the last time was disgraceful, including right here. But we're not going to let it happen again. Too big to rig, right? That's one way you do it. Can't let it happen.
And of course, despite saying early voting and vote by mail are rigged, Donald Trump habitually votes early and votes by mail. Some glitchy moments. Here was a real glitchy McGlitchberg from Donald Trump.
Starting on day one, I will seal the border and stop the migrant. We're going to stop the migrant invasion.
We still have not gotten a good diagnosis of what that shoulder thing is, the spasm. And then shortly after this moment, Trump reminding the crowd that on cognitive, there's no one stronger than him, and the crowd really liking it and cheering.
I almost said the state of Pennsylvania, but I meant the Commonwealth. I never said the state. I was able to catch it because I'm cognitively very strong.
No one is stronger on cognitive than I am. Now, here was a funny moment when Trump just accidentally glanced across a little bit of policy. Trump says he will restore the SALT deduction if you elect him president. What's interesting about that is it's Donald Trump's own tax reform from 2017 that eliminated the SALT deduction. Now he's running on restoring it. Why not just not get rid of it in the first place?
And for all the suburban households paying high property taxes here in Pennsylvania, I will restore the SALT deduction. Do you know what that is? SALT deduction. You will. To save you thousands of dollars. Maybe I shouldn't bother with, but that's a good one, but you guys don't know what the hell it is. That's a good one.
Now, it is weird to run on reversing your own tax reform plan. But at the same time, this is Donald Trump, but really, really bizarre. Now, by this point, people are leaving. Haley Doherty, a staff writer for triblive.com, reported on Twitter that, quote, people have started to leave after about 45 minutes of the former president speaking. This is now part of every rally. Trump spoke close to 100 minutes, so less than halfway through, maybe even more than 100 minutes last night. Less than halfway through, people were heading for the exits. And then the real dystopian and apocalyptic prediction started. Trump again dropping the claim that if he does not become president, we may never have another election in the United States.
The most important day and the most important vote in the history of our country, because we're losing our country. I mean, somebody I heard the other day, pretty smart person, and you think about it, and it could be true. They said, if we don't win this election, there may never be another election in this country. It could happen.
Now, remember that this is a very similar promise to the one that Donald Trump made in 2020, which thankfully did not come true. But the takeaway seems to be that these sort of apocalyptic visions, as compared to the positive vision that Joe Biden used in his 2020 campaign, and hopefully as compared to the positive vision that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are using in this campaign, the apocalyptic dystopian predictions from Trump don't really seem very effective at winning him elections. Now, Trump made a very specific claim about fentanyl, or fentanyl, as he often calls it, which is that prescription drugs are being laced with fentanyl.
And when you hear that, how many families do you know where their child had a dose of fentanyl, not even in many cases because they were into drugs. They take another drug and it's laced with fentanyl, not even what you would call a bad drug. They take a medication prescribed by a doctor. It's got fentanyl and they die right in front of the parents.
Yeah, that isn't happening. It's just, I found no evidence of that whatsoever. It is true that fake prescription pills have been sometimes found to have fentanyl in them, fake prescription pills. But I was not able to find evidence that legitimate prescriptions filled at a licensed pharmacy are inadvertently being delivered to patients with fentanyl. Now, Trump also addressed the topic of polling, and Trump now says the polls that have him losing are fake. What's interesting is that before Biden got out, and those very same polls said Trump was winning, that was the proof that he was winning. The previous proof he was winning is now evidence of fake rigging.
When they say we're 3 points up or 4, there's no way. It's got to be a hell of a lot more than that. It has to be. You know, polls are fake also, just like these people, the fake news.
There you go. And in the midst of continuing to weaponize his supporters against the media, Trump points to the polls as rigged that 3 months ago he pointed to say, I'm winning, and this is why Joe Biden is running scared. And finally, a disgusting moment, Trump refers to Springfield, Ohio, and the Haitian immigrants, and the crowd starts chanting, send them back, even though they have legal status.
With left-wing nonprofits to inundate Pennsylvania communities, changing the character of small towns and villages all over our country and changing them forever. They will never be the same. They will never be. Do you think Springfield will ever be the same? I don't think. The fact is, and I'll say it now, you have to get them the hell out. You have to get them out. I'm sorry. To get them out. Can't have it. Can't have it. They've destroyed it.
So there is the chant of send them back. And of course, they have legal status in the United States. Truly beyond appalling. These are individuals who are legally in Springfield, Ohio. By all accounts, they've improved the city. Most residents want them there, and most residents recognize that these are good families who are here working. Why would we send them back to a horrible, horrible situation and possible death, by the way, in Haiti? But send them back is the chant. The world horrified by what we saw last night in Indiana, Pennsylvania. Many people in the audience know I speak multiple languages. I first learned Spanish when I was born in Argentina. Then I learned English. I learned some Hebrew in Hebrew school. I learned French in junior and high school. I am no stranger to the language learning process. And one of the most useful tools I've ever used is the app called Babbel The way our sponsor Babbel teaches you languages truly works, and it works fast. Instead of a bunch of silly quizzes and games like a lot of the other apps, Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. All of Babbel's tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable. They're rooted in real-life situations and conversations. Babbel's bite-sized 10-minute lessons are just perfect for me. I can do it on the go, do it during a lunch break. It really sticks fast. Babbel was able to help me feel ready for my recent trip to France. I'm using Babbel to brush up on Italian and German just for fun. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others prove Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is like a full semester of language at college. Here's a special limited time deal for my audience. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for my audience at babbel.com/Pacman. Rules and restrictions may apply. The link is in the description.